was day 6 of Commanders practice today. And I will say, I feel like today was the day that felt the absolute most like a familiar training camp. Not necessarily that the structure was that different than it has been, or like it felt like old Ron or Jay practices that I've covered. It just, because they got into some second and first down work, really it was a second and long day was the big period today. You just kind of got a more feel for certain guys, and different players got involved in ways that they haven't been in camp. Biggest one probably being Jahan Dotson. But today's the first day, and I actually feel good about saying this because Logan and I recorded Take Command, which will be out tomorrow morning, and Logan actually said something similar, and I was like, oh, so it's not just me. But you really felt like today was the first day that there's a practice in terms of some of the drills that they did, that you got a feel for what this offense and what this defense is going to look like during the regular season. Some more personnel feeling. And the biggest thing is just like more plays where some different guys got involved. And it was really, really, really fun to see Jahan Dotson start to get involved a little bit today, to see some big runs break out. But it's not like it was just the offense that dominated the day, although I think the offense probably, quote-unquote, won the practice, especially when you think about they ended in 2 minutes, and ultimately the offense got what they needed to in all three units, the first, the second, and the third team. First team needed a touchdown. They got it. It was on a fourth down, some awesome plays in between, but they ultimately get the touchdown. Second and third needed field goals, and I do believe that they both got it. I know the second team did. Anthony, can you remember? Third team got the field goal that they needed as well, right?
No.
Or no, they did. Yeah, the third team stalled out?
Yeah, they stalled out.
I don't remember what happened at the end of the third team. Sorry to the third team defense. Congrats. You won. But the first and second team, which obviously, were most of the guys who were going to make this roster live, they were able to get what they needed to do done offensively. There were some big plays offensively, deep vertical passing game on display. But the defense forced a couple of fumbles today. They got some other stops. And there's also some plays where it's kind of muddy on who, quote unquote, wins, because in the initial down, it's probably a sack, but does Jayden or Marcus slip out of a sack, and all of a sudden this second action that's happening where it goes the offense's way, is that actually the outcome of the play? So it was an interesting day. It was a day where I feel like I took a lot in. And I think the biggest thing that you take away from today is you start to see some of the other receivers get involved. We've seen some Terry, we've seen some Zach Ertz, but you see Jahan Dotson getting involved. You see Olamide Zaccheaus getting involved. You see a huge day again, and we're going to do a full 53 tomorrow, and I'm telling you right now, the way I am right now, Bryson Tremaine is making this roster. Like, 89 just had another monster day where he has a huge catch down the sideline, diving, like all out, highlight reel type of play. One that if the social media crew got it, which I'm sure they did, like you're going to see it on Instagram, on the Commanders page, just all out from Bryson Tremaine. It was awesome. And then I'm going to actually, Anthony, I just knocked my notebook on the ground. I'm going to grab it so I can read verbatim. Grab this. Here's my notes for the second team offense, my drive summary for the second team offense for the 2-minute drill at the end. So there's 50 seconds on the clock. The score is 23-21 defense, and they need to gain about 75 yards, 65 yards. I don't know. We were on the end zone side where they were going to, so it was hard to see exactly where they started. But my notes go, penalties, BS, Tremaine for 60, game-winning field goal. That's what it was. Mariota got him. They were in a bad way, third and long, not good. And then Cliff dials one up, and Mariota hits Tremaine down the sideline for 50 yards, and they don't do anything else in the ensuing plays, and they kick a field goal from right there, and that's how you win the game. But sometimes that's how it is. You just need the one play. And I think the other thing that was cool today is you start to see some of the creative ways that Cliff is going to get guys open. You see, on the 2-minute situation that was preceded it with Jayden Daniels and the truly one offense. Like, it was one of the first times in all of camp, too, that you see the one offensive line, Jayden Daniels at quarterback, the one receiver, Zach Ertz, In that particular case, Austin Eckler's the one running back because it's 2 minutes, so you want the pass protection / pass catching guy in there. And it's 50 seconds on the clock, 28-24 defense. You need a touchdown, but you got the ball at the 35-yard line. And so you need a chunk play there to then get multiple shots at the end zone. And on first down, Cliff dials up this concept that Logan, like, immediately he looks at me, he's like, give me your notepad and your pen. He starts doodling. So I have a partial doodle on my notepad here of this play, but there's a high-low concept with it. We're not allowed to talk about schemes, so I can't give you a lot more than that. But there's like a high-low read. Jayden's able to see that Jahan is able to squeeze out towards the sideline. And not only do they get the ball, on this deeper, outbreaking route to Jahan completed, but they get it right where he's able to run out of bounds. And in a 35-second, I don't know how many timeouts were up there situationally for them to play with. I know they had at least one that they took later. But, like, that's huge to get the chunk play, to get you in a better strike zone, to get you into the high red, to get out of bounds. Like, that's great from Jayden. It's great from Jahan. It's great from Cliff. And you just saw the big plays all day. And as I said, though, the one thing I will say is the defense also made some big plays because there's a great completion earlier in the day to Zach Ertz, and Frankie Louvu pops the ball out. And, like, that's doing that to Zach Ertz, a vet who knows better and a vet who has got good ball security habits. Probably my favorite hustle play of the day, or there's two. One didn't result in a turnover, one did. Cleveland Ferrell at one point was like 50 yards downfield as a defensive end, and you're just like, that dude is hustling. And that's great to see from a defensive end. But then there was a play where B-Rob actually busted a big run, so you get, kudos offense. And he's 40 yards downfield, and Sanders still chases him down and punches it. And, is it kind of one of those, the play's probably dead, the defense is just being annoying and everyone's punching at the ball? Maybe, but B-Rob was legit out. And I think if you ask Brian, like, hey, would you have been down yet? He would have said no. And thus, I'm considering Sanders still punching the ball out live. And, everyone's diving for it. I think B-Rob ultimately recovers it. But the fact that Sanders still is making that kind of play, like, there is a strain level, there is an intensity, there's an intentionality to everything that they're doing right now that I think, again, speaks to really good habits, speaks to putting the pieces in place. But ultimately, we'll see what happens once they get out there and play on Sundays in the fall, because talent ultimately does win games. They're going to get the most out of their talent, but I just don't know how much talent they have at this point in time. We'll get to some other notes from training camp today. Next, again, Chelsea Janes on the trade deadline, which is coming up just under 2 hours from now at 4:30. Sam Fortier at 5. We're loaded up on a Tuesday on the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app. One other big thing I think that Anthony, as we were talking in the break, we both noticed today is the big play explosiveness from Jayden Daniels. And you see it in a couple different ways, right? You see it when it comes to the big down the field throws, and his accuracy today is on display. And it actually, one of my favorite things from today, I starred this in my notes here. He had, I think it was a deep corner to Terry in one of these team periods, and he missed him. And he had to try to throw the ball up and away because the safety was coming over top, but Terry's got the speed. He beats the corner. He beats the safety. Forbes was out there, and might have been Quan.
It was Quan.
Yeah. And so Terry's Terry. He gets out there, and Jayden misses him. And they come back to the sideline, and they have a pretty in-depth conversation about it. And it's clear they're both kind of gesturing. And it wasn't so much that Terry was lecturing Jayden or Jayden was lecturing Terry. It was just, hey, we got to get on the same page. They did. I couldn't hear the conversation, just a lot of hand motion, and they were very intentional about what they're doing. And about 2 series later, I think it was, maybe it was 4 series later in practice, similar throw, similar route. This one I think was a go ball, and Jayden hits him in stride. And you're just like, damn, where has that been? Jayden's willingness to throw the ball outside the numbers, deep, the accuracy with which he does it. He clearly has a great ability to see and kind of visualize. Like I talk about this sometimes when I'm talking about Steph Curry. Like Steph has an innate ability to realize how far away things are and put a ball there. It's why he's a great golfer. It's why he's a great three-point shooter. It's silly. Like even when he's messing around, I saw a video the other day of him just like at this charity event and he's walking out, the ball like rolls to him and he throws a hook shot over his head from 40 feet out and he drains it. And you're just like, this dude is an alien. I think I saw a meme of that and it was like, don't tell me God doesn't have favorites because Steph just boop. And I don't know whether Jayden would be the sharpshooter that Steph Curry is in the NBA. That seems unlikely. But clearly Jayden's like depth perception, hand-eye coordination, and his ability to put touch on a football is next level. And you see it in these practices. Now, it's one thing to do it in a practice versus when you know you're about to take a shot and get hit and all the football caveats that go in with it being July. But you saw that on display today. And I think, Anthony, something that we were talking about in the break that you really noticed is not just, hey, in rhythm, in the pocket, drop a dime, but he had a couple throws today on the move that were special as well.
Yeah, being able to get outside of the pocket and extend the play was super impressive. And it's also the accuracy with he has, when he does get outside the pocket. He hit Jahan 2 times on the sideline. One time, it was a simple throw where Jahan's like by himself. But then there was another time where he had to actually loft the ball over top of the defender and still get it to Jahan in between 2 other defenders. So it was just, his accuracy when it comes to getting outside of the pocket is really impressive because he's also just not looking to run. We know he can run, but I think in these practices, we definitely rather see him, dial it up and zip it into one of his receivers. The other thing that I did...
just real quick on that before we get on to another point. If I asked people before camp, like, who do you think will run the most? Marcus, Jeff Driscoll, Sam Hartman, or Jayden Daniels? Maybe someone would have guessed Marcus or Driscoll or whoever, but no one would have guessed that Jayden would be dead last. He has not run the football basically at all. And to your point, when he gets out of the pocket, he finds stuff. And his ability to keep his eyes downfield, whether it's looking back across the formation for a guy like Ertz, whether it's, the throw he made to Jahan on that deep comeback is just stupid. Like it's almost straight out of a drill, which like, good job, Cliff and Tavita and Brian Johnson, whoever else is involved in coming up in the drills. But they've worked on some of these throws where they've got to get it up over a target and then back down. So you go up over a linebacker and back down. But they've done that mostly from a, like, hey, can we hit a guy on the back line of the end zone? This is 20 yards up over a jumping DB into Jahan. Has to be perfect. Jahan is mid-toe tap on the sideline as he brings it in. Just one of the better throws that you'll see anywhere across the NFL all season long. And Jayden just kind of, casually does it. No stress. No, I'm going to start just calling him that. Now I feel like I'm Linnell giving people nicknames. I'm not giving him a nickname, but he's just no stress Daniels. He's just out there chilling, making plays. It's what he does.
Yeah, he's out there definitely delivering. And my thing is I missed, I guess, Monday. That was the first day in pads. I wish I was there. They said he was on and off, but I think he had an extremely good day today. Even on like some of his misses, he had Jahan one-on-one on the left sideline, and he put the ball literally where only Jahan could get it. It didn't result in a catch, but the fact that, he's taking those steps and he's allowing his playmakers to go out there and be able to, make plays. I think that's what we've been missing. Like, just give the guys a chance to go out there and make a play.
And the anticipation he throws with. There's another deep comeback to Jahan where it's a back shoulder situation. And, like, I was watching Jahan on the play. Sometimes you get lucky. How many times have I said during this camp, like, I don't know exactly what happened because I was watching here and then all of a sudden the ball's there and, it turned out pretty good. Good analysis. Thanks, Hoffman. But, like, this is one where I was watching Jahan on the route. And I tried to watch Jahan a little bit more today, and it was pretty easy because the ball went his way quite a bit. But Jahan is like, it's not even that he hadn't made his break yet. It's that he made like a 2-step move at the top of his route where he's like, oh, I'm about to go like from I'm running to I'm about to turn this thing up into a vertical route, big acceleration step, and then huge deceleration, come back shoulder. And so there's kind of that 2-step. And Jahan hadn't done the first part of that yet at the stem or the top of his route. And Jayden throws the ball. And he knows, and sure enough, Jahan turns around, bang, it's right there, catch, and it's a diving catch for Jahan on the sideline. And it's crazy because I wonder if it's predetermined there, because I thought Jahan got on top of the DB. Like, I thought Jahan could have gone deep, and Jayden reads it out the same exact way Jahan does, or it's predetermined, and Jahan just does a really good job of selling the vertical route. So, yeah, man, like, the touch, the anticipation, the mobility, again, does it? I always feel like I have to caveat this because I don't want to be accused of like, oh, they're just lapping up everything. Jayden Daniels is a guy. He's not. He had some stuff he missed today. There was a fumbled exchange, although I think that one was on the running back, in fairness to Jayden. Like, it's not perfect. There's some times where he's taken some pressure today that maybe may have been sacks. And, if you make a play after you've been sacked in training camp, it's a sack for real in a real game. The second play doesn't matter as much. But dang, the test that he's had to take so far, he's done really well on, and just the poise he's shown while doing it, I think is impressive. What was the other thing? Was that the other thing, like the anticipation part of it, or was there something else that you had from camp today?
Nah, I think the anticipation, we've hit on. I was going more so go towards the defense side of the ball, just in the red zone. The fact that we had Luvu at the end. I think in those situations, from the looks of it anyway, because Bobby Wagner, he wasn't out there, but it looked like they had 3 safeties, Luvu at end, a linebacker. It just, again, the possibilities that they have, and also just wanted to, have your best players out there. So the fact that Luvu is at the end, can also drop in coverage, have somebody. It's just, I don't know, I'm loving it. Even though they end up getting scored on like 2 plays later, but they still got some work to do. Yeah.
No, I loved seeing the different personnel, and in that situation, you had the 2 minute, not the red zone, in the 2 minute situation.
2 minute, that's what it was.
Well, for the defense, the one defense, it was kind of the same because it was the high red area, but it's really like a 2 minute package because they want the pass rush. They're not concerned about a run game. They're not concerned about whatever. But they had Luvu on one edge, Fowler on the other. And then they had Sainer still in. And then the other thing that I thought was interesting too is Percy Butler was in. And so we talk about the mixing and matching of the safeties, and who knows, again, they can all change this up. Nothing's final. They're trying stuff. But I do think on some of the situational stuff, we're seeing a little bit more into the depth chart than we are in other parts of practice. And I think Butler over Chin there is for real. Because they want the speed and kind of the range versus Chin's ability to stop the run and do things underneath. They want to make sure they don't get beat over the top. And so the fact that Quan is still in there tells us a lot about what they think of Quan. And Butler is the other safety, I think, is telling as well with Sainer still. And then today it was Forbes and Davis on the outside. St. Juice left practice early with an injury. So we'll obviously follow up on that on Thursday with Dan Quinn after the off day tomorrow.
This is the Hoffman Show on the T980 and the Odyssey app.